The Baltimore Ravens offense recovered and the pass catchers flourished on day 2 of mandatory minicamp. We talk about observations and so much more coming up next year on Locked On Ravens.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Ostreicher of Ravens Wire. We are here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for being here, making Locked On Ravens a part of your day and your first listen. Each and every single day, we're free and available on all podcasting platforms. That includes in video form on YouTube, where you can like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also in audio form, where you can follow along, subscribe over there as well. Today's episode of Locked On Ravens is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. We're here for you 5 days a week on Locked On Ravens. Plus, we do bonus content as well, Monday through Friday, bringing you Ravens news, analysis, updates, and so much more. Here we are on Thursday, talking Ravens mandatory minicamp with more Baltimore Ravens wide receiver, Super Bowl champion, and someone who has been out there over these last couple of days. It is Qadry Ismail. Q, we're getting closer to the Ravens regular season OTAs. You can check that off. Now in minicamp, we're almost done with it, but there are some observations you can take away. Guys stepping up, guys showing frustration. It's just another way for these players to get work in with their teammates and coaches, and I know there's a lot for us to talk about today.
Yeah, there is. It's interesting when you get to this time of the year, you start to get a little more and more anxious because you know it's like right around the corner, but you know that you got to also be patient and realize that you can't really make too much of anything just basically because they don't have any pads on. And so not trying to be like the Detroit Lions where you're trying to have them get so physical that you wind up getting practices suspended and getting fined. But yes, this is that time of the year where like things, kind of start molding into what we want to look like going into training camp.
Right. And I think, once we get into the padded practices, preseason, obviously, like the pads matter. So how much can you take away from minicamp? Not a ton, but you can take a little bit away, just a little bit. So we're going to talk about that. I want to get your general observations, though, Q. You were there for the first 2 days. What have you seen offensively, defensively? General observations from you, and then we'll get into a couple of points going off of those in a couple minutes.
Captain Obvious is Roquan Smith is the truth. Getting everybody in position, putting things together as far as Zach Orr. Man, he is going to be blessed with the presence of Agent Zero right in the middle, making it all go. Good to see David Ojabo out there and doing some of the individual work. Looks fast, looks strong. Didn't notice, to my eyes, some level of a limp or anything. Adafe Owe, woo, okay. So if my last year was Charlie Kolar, Tavius Robinson is my guy this year.
All right.
All the other guys don't matter. It's my guy, T-Rob, homeboy. Like, yeah, y'all, we need an edge. We need this. We need that. Yeah, T-Rob, what up? Homeboy is going to look the part. And he's going to be confident. And he's going to be flying off the edge. I liked his techniques. I like how he's kind of getting more and more familiar. It's one of those situations where everybody wants to concentrate on the young guys and on the rookies, but he's going to go ahead and shine. Watch it. Mark my words.
Now, you're not ditching Charlie Kohler here, are you? I thought you were just adding on Tavius Robinson.
BFF material. You don't ditch BFF.
That's right.
You add to your list of BFFs. Yes, T-Rob, he is now my BFF on the defensive side of the ball.
I was impressed with him last season. I wasn't expecting a huge role from him last year. I don't think either of us were, but he stepped up there, especially on early downs, containing the run, and showed some flashes as a pass rusher. And by all accounts, throughout all these offseason workouts, he's been really impressive. Now, in terms of the pass catchers in the offense, yesterday meaning Tuesday, we're recording this on Wednesday. So on Tuesday, The offense had some struggles. Seemed like the defense really dominated that practice for the most part. Some interceptions, bobbles, whatnot. But by all accounts, Q, seems like the offense recovered in a way yesterday on Wednesday. Lamar Jackson, we saw the play of the day the Ravens put out on social media, that throw to Zay Flowers, where Zay is 5'9" or so. Trayvon Mullen, who he jumped over, 6'2". He mossed him as a shorter guy. I mean, that play was incredible. Zay, we've heard a bunch of good things about Tylan Wallace, and even though he had some drops apparently early in that practice on Wednesday, was able to recover. Malik Cunningham making that transition over to wide receiver. Isaiah Washington is an undrafted guy. And those undrafted guys, Q, I mean, you're talking about Dayton Wade and Qadry Ismail. And for those who are wondering the name relation, yes, there is one between Qadry and Qadry. Just letting everybody know who isn't familiar. But what have you seen out of those pass catchers, particularly on Wednesday, and how the offense was able to recover in practice?
Well, I think the Tuesday practice, it wasn't necessarily the pass catchers being sloppy or anything along those lines. I just think that, you had a defense having a day, and that's going to happen. And you want it to happen. I'm long since done away with just, the practice was bad because the offense didn't perform. No, the defense was good. Now, drops or sloppy or offsides or something along those lines, that's different. This wasn't that. So let's not get that twisted. Now, with that said, yes, the next practice was a very clean, smooth practice when it came to receivers going out there and making plays for the quarterbacks. The quarterbacks looked sharp in their decisiveness with the reads that they wanted to get out to the receivers and also the backs. I mean, I keep saying it, but the backside of the backfield, man, holy moly. Like Justice Hill and them, they ain't looking sloppy in the least bit. They're like, all right, cool. You want us to get this? We going to get it. So I think overall, if you want to say Lamar and Josh look comfortable or however you want to word it, I liked the rebounding day for the offense compared to how the defense took care of business on that first OTA practice.
Yeah, and this is classic iron sharpens iron, where I think it's a great thing that the Ravens offense has to go up against this defense every day in practice. I think it prepares them, and vice versa for the defense with the offense. I mean, they're going up against Lamar Jackson every day in practice. That prepares you for a lot if you're a defense, particularly with Lamar's skill set and how, look, not a lot of people, in fact, no one has that type of skill set. Lamar is a one-of-one player and unique. So to be able to prepare both offensively and defensively by going up against some of these really great players and great units, that benefits. But it wasn't just the wide receivers here, Q. Isaiah Likely apparently has had 2 incredible days of practice so far. You mentioned Charlie Kolar. He's had a couple of highlight plays. But everybody, it seems like all the attention is on Likely and Kolar. But this team has someone, I don't know if you've heard of him, Q. His name is Mark Andrews. And I think from what I've heard, he's pretty good. He's a pretty good tight end. He also has stepped up during these practices. What have you seen from that tight end room?
Oh, my God. I mean, stepped up. It's like, wait a minute. We talking Mark Andrews. He's a pro. Like, he didn't step up. He already been there, and everybody's coming up to him. He's been making plays from day one. Like last week's OTAs, I was out there, balling. This week, balling. Like, what do we want to talk about? Now, I like the fact that Charlie Kolar is really looking nice and smooth with his stuff. I love the fact that Isaiah Likely, who was kind of chilling in OTAs, all of a sudden you just see him going down the field, catching one-handed grabs out of the air, making them look easy on back-to-back practice days. And I just think they all have this kind of chillness to them that is showing that group is kick butt, take some names later type of a group.
Yeah, I think that look, even if you just want to put Andrews, Likely, and Kolar in a vacuum, that to me is one of the best tight end groups, if not the best tight end group in the league. I mean, they have star power in Mark Andrews. Isaiah Likely certainly getting there too, and I feel like they envision a bigger role for Charlie Kolar this year, Q. So how they utilize, I think everybody's talking about the big question of how will they utilize Likely alongside Mark Andrews. Well, I think another question is how are they going to utilize these 3 guys together? Are they going to use a bunch of 3 tight end sets this year to work off of Derrick Henry in that play action game and get guys? I mean, there are so many different ways that they can do that. Now, Back to wide receivers, an interesting storyline has been Rashod Bateman over these last couple of days of minicamp. It seems like he and Lamar, according to all accounts, and Hugh, if you want to provide some insight on it, by all accounts, Lamar and Bateman are still struggling to get on the same page. There was a bobble on a throw that Lamar made, and Qadry Ismail ended up intercepting that pass. This is early. Again, what can you take away from minicamp? Not a lot. I'm not necessarily worried about Rashod Bateman, but we can acknowledge what's going on. And if there are struggles, we can say, sure, there are struggles. So what is the deal with Bateman right now? Can you kind of give us some insight on what's going on?
Let me just say this. Dude's looking fast, quick, smooth, decisive, confident, snatching the ball out of the air. With that said, he at times still seems to, like, prime example, maybe it was Wiggins on the one, cooked him. But I don't think he was throwing the ball. And you can see a little bit like, frustration. Brandon Stevens, cooked him. Lamar waited. Separation was there, and bam. Like, Bate made the catch, just snatched it. But then he's going down the field, and it's a deeper ball into the end zone. And it was weird because it was like I guess he wanted it sooner, and it was a little bit behind him, but he kind of got too casual with it. And it looked like, it was just a poor effort on his part. I guess you can say it was. We're in professional football, so you don't want to make excuses if you're a top-level player, and he's a top-level player. But yeah, it's weird. Like, you see a just high-level awesomeness, and then you see a play like that. I don't see more of the lesser plays. I see more of the big-time plays, but I could see maybe possibly he would want the ball more, and I don't know how he's reacting to that. Like, his body language looks like he's kind of indifferent, like, get me the ball kind of a thing. It remains to be seen what that looks like as far as the bigger picture of things for him.
Yeah, so I guess in that case, the word maybe would, inconsistencies, where there have been the good plays, but then there also have been some of the struggles. So, again, we're in minicamp.
There are more good plays.
Yes.
Than there are, they're the good plays. They're the plays where they were good, but he didn't connect on. And then there's the inconsistent play. Like I said, back in the end zone one was the one that I kind of saw, and I was like, ooh, that's interesting. That type of thing.
Yeah, that's a good way to illustrate it. There are different levels to it, and it's not just, okay, he made the catch or he didn't. He dropped the ball or he didn't. There are multiple different aspects to it. So it's something to keep an eye on. But again, I'm not worried whatsoever.
I'm actually I'm telling you, bro, his routes crisp. His decisiveness is crisp. So hey, I ain't worried at all.
Yeah.
Keep him healthy, keep him going. Hallelujah.
Yeah, coming out of college, he was known as such a good route runner. I feel like that has been he almost is underrated now as a route runner to me. I think obviously because Zay came in and he was just cooking dudes left and right and having those highlight reel plays and the camps and everything. And Bateman's a really good route runner. He and Zay, I called him, Zay, and Odell the best route running trio in the league last year, and I stand by that. They all were incredible. So I'm excited to see.
Kind of derailed both Zay and Odell at the X position, and I know what you're saying. It kind of stumped the growth of the league, seeing oh wow, that's a formidable group.
Yeah, look, I'm hopeful we can get a healthy Bateman this year. If that's the case, hopefully it can translate, because I think everybody knows potential is there, but health is the number one thing for Bateman. Coming up, though, in the second part of the show, we'll continue talking about some mandatory minicamp takeaways. Q will take us through some of those, so be sure to stay tuned. Plenty to talk about here on the show. First, the show is brought to you by Gametime. I'm super excited the NBA Finals are in progress right now. I mean, obviously, we're in the midst of them, and it'd be super cool to actually go to a game. Gametime makes getting NBA Finals tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all in prices, views and receipt, and the lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. Now, for the NBA Finals, closeout games. We don't know. We never know when a closeout is actually going to happen, but I would love to be there for the actual closeout of the finals. But in the Baltimore area, Orioles tickets, they're in the midst of a great season. Check out all the tickets over on Gametime for that. Plus, with the Ravens, it's coming up quickly, so Gametime has it covered for those as well. Now, the Gametime app has a bunch of awesome features, such as last-minute deals. You can save up to 60% off of buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. But the app itself is actually a very easy app to use. The interface is incredible, and some of those other features include flash deals, zone deals, all-in pricing, seat views, lowest price guarantee, Gametime ticket coverage, and so much more. Take the guest record of buying NBA Finals tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL. Spell LCKD1NFL for $20 off first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. We are back, our second segment, Locked On Ravens with Qadry Ismail. I am Kevin Ostreicher. Just at 7,000 subscribers here on Locked On Ravens on YouTube. So again, really appreciate everybody who has been a part of this journey, whether you are here on YouTube in video form, audio form, wherever you're tuning in, listening, watching, the whole 9 yards. It's been an incredible journey. We're going to continue it over here on Locked On Ravens. Now, Q, let's talk about the defensive side of the ball a little bit, and then we'll come back to Lamar for the final OTA takeaway. Seems like Trenton Simpson is showing off his Trenton Simpson stuff, and we know that it's going to be a big year for him in terms of replacing Patrick Queen, hopefully having a big role on that defense. Seems like there's been a lot of good conversation around Trenton Simpson. What have you seen from him in particular?
Yeah, I just saw a guy running. So what do you mean by that? You're not thinking. You're, okay, go see ball, hit ball, go. That's it. And I see Zach Orr with a level of just like enthusiastic swagger that was like there in its own way, in a different way with Mike McDonald. And I see, like, for example, he's looking at all those defenders doing what they need to do. And what I mean by there was a drill where you're coming off the edge of the bag and you're getting their hands in a great position to come off the edge and get to the quarterback, and they're all doing it. And my God, man, they were just like speeding it. Well, you could just see what Zach was just like, yep, cool. And he's allowed his coaches delegating his the responsibility to the coaches, and making sure everybody's doing their thing. But then he also was next to his chess piece, the queen on the board, and we ain't talking PQ either. Talking Kyle Hamilton, who was in his non-football workout. He just kind of had like some workout attire on, but he was watching and chilling. And I mean, I'm telling you, like, he was more than having some cool conversations with him. But the point, I think, in the bigger picture of it all, to your query, yeah, he's looking the part. And I think it's one of those situations where, as long as you have the level of maturity of Agent Zero, your defense is going to be in good hands.
Yeah, everybody gets that Roquan Smith bump, but I think it's even a bigger bump to the guy who's playing next to him.
Yes.
In Patrick Queen, we saw that. And I know that everybody feels a certain type of way about Patrick Queen now with all the comments and the villain and whatnot, but he was starting to find his groove in the beginning of his third season. But we can all admit that Roquan came in there and beefed everybody up on that defense, and I think Patrick Queen was the biggest beneficiary of that. With Trenton Simpson, a young guy, second-year player, first year, assuming he wins that job, which I think he will, starter, is that inside linebacker. You do not want any other player next to you right now in this league than Roquan Smith. I think that is the ultimate guy and will really help Trenton continue to evolve and grow his game. But on that defensive line, you mentioned Tavius Robinson is your guy, your new BFFQ is one of those pass rushers. But it seemed like some of the younger interior guys stepping up. We know Justin Madubuike. We have no questions about Justin Madubuike, but he had some dominating plays. Broderick Washington, someone who I think, signed the extension we didn't really hear a lot of last season. Seems like he is doing his thing. And a guy who's my pick, in fact, he is my pick. Breakout player of the year is Mr. Travis Jones. I know you and I have talked about him, Q. He apparently is turning it up right now during minicamp. That defensive line is my favorite positional group on this roster. And based off what we're hearing out of minicamp and maybe what you've been seeing, Q, seems like they're in for another good year, hopefully.
Yeah, Travis Jones, like you said, I think Broderick Washington has something to prove. They both look really, really like just quick, first step quickness, changing speed to power. Those different moves, it just looks really, really solid and strong. And I think that's something where, the bigger picture of it all, they don't have pads on, but D linemen are kind of like receivers. If you can't get your hands on me, I'm upfield. And none of them. I wouldn't be surprised if Travis, his body has changed up even more so. He's a big, large man, but just something about the way he was moving today, I just kind of like this pause and was like, wait a minute, if he didn't have his number on, I would have sworn he lost some LBs. So I'm not really sure. That's something that somebody probably can ask him. But he looks the real deal. I think that's a good one to go along with my now new BFF and T-Rob.
Yeah, it almost feels like when you make that comparison, when Haloti Ngata was chasing dudes down, obviously I know him and, it's not the same exact player, but you're like, Haloti Ngata at that weight can run that fast? And it's kind of like he's chasing dudes down like that. Plus, Haloti Ngata, underrated ball hawk, by the way. Just wanted to throw that out there. He was picking passes off, running them to the house. Underrated aspect. Maybe Travis Jones, the way that defensive line room Q bats balls, they bat, between Urban and Pierce and all those guys, Matabika getting his hand on the ball, you could have some tip drill interceptions. We saw the Ravens have tip drill interceptions. I think that'll be a big part of what they do this season. Now, Lamar Jackson, let's circle back to him and the pass catchers, the offense and whatnot. How has Lamar's arm looked? How have his throws looked? And we talked about this whole body transformation thing and Lamar losing the weight, says he feels like Lamar. Is he looking like Lamar out there so far through 2 days?
I think so. I think he's looking like a lighter, confident, yet at the same time, like his arm talent is just so like I'm making this sound. I don't know if it can be picked up, but it's like a when the ball is thrown because there's so many revolutions that are on it. It's like and it's just tight, like just. Woo, and catchable. It has some catch like you like Highland Wallace caught this one that was across the middle, and either in a game or training camp, you might have to take one for the team, but the placement of it, you could just feel and just suck right on in, and oh my gosh, yeah, Lamar's looking good. That ball is coming out nice, and I love how he just like sees it, locates it, and he just lets it go. Real deal.
Yeah, see, this is why I tune into Locked On Ravens. Not only do you get the analysis here from Q, you get to actually feel like you are there with an auditory version of how Lamar Jackson's throw sounds. So all those, not even just one noise, multiple different noises from Q to illustrate how Lamar's looking, which again is why exactly you tune in to this show here and talk about Lamar and everything. But coming to the final part of the show, there are a couple of injury concerns maybe with the Ravens, some updates on that. So stay tuned. We'll talk about what those have with Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, and more. We got a lot to talk about here on the show. We are back. Our final segment, Locked On Ravens. Kevin Oestreicher still here with Qadry Ismail, wrapping up today's Thursday episode. Appreciate everybody being here. Be sure to subscribe and follow along for 5 days a week of daily Ravens content, plus more with bonus episodes, live shows, and more. Now, Kyle Hamilton has not been on the practice field. Well, he's been on it, just not in practice attire. He's been on in his street clothes, not participating. John Harbaugh revealing that he had some loose bodies removed from the elbow, should be good to go for training camp. Can you kind of give us, for those who might not know, all right, what does that mean? Why did this happen? What does that look like, the recovery timeline, and are there any long-term effects from that, or is that just you take him out and you're done?
So the bottom line, when you're playing football, collision sport, all the things, there are times where, a defender or usually like an offensive lineman, they'll talk about those loose bodies from an elbow aspect of things. So it's like a little chip of your soft tissues kind of like it just kind of, dislodges pretty much from your bone. And now that is just like, I'm moving. Also, oh, wow, where did this come from? It's stuck. And so you'll hear that like a guy might have like a meniscus, but it's not torn. It's just like a little piece came off. Next thing you know, all of a sudden you're trying to bend that knee and you think you run. It's like, oh, whoa, that's what's going on. That's where if you get it, especially in the off season, you get that arthroscopic surgery to the elbow, very fine incisions, boom, boom, boom. They get it, clean it out, they'll clean it up. And now it's just a matter of recovering. And that recovery is it's important and it's critical. And if you can do it, and obviously he did it in enough time, you're going to be fine. And I think that's a good thing. They caught it rather than let it linger.
Right. So just get it out of the way, get it done. And again, should be good to go for training camp, hopefully at least. So we'll see how that progresses. But again, once it's done, glad they caught it and everything's good there. Now, in terms of Marlon Humphrey, Q, such an interesting situation. I don't know if a lot of people anticipated, this going on. Apparently, he was back at practice, but then he was not practicing on Wednesday. Kind of this back and forth. Obviously, Marlon dealt with injuries in 2023. His season was very injury marred. I don't know, unless I missed something, Q. I don't think we have gotten official word on what that is. Do you think this has relation to what he suffered in 2023? Is this maybe something that happened over the offseason? They're being cautious with it. Why do you think Marlon isn't practicing right now? And is there any concern for you?
Well, he was in all of the early portion of pre-draft, draft, all that period of time as far as training and working out. So I don't know. I think he had what was the calf, foot kind of thing that really messed him up towards the end of the year. And I'm assuming that is something that could have been strained again, and he's having difficulty with it, and probably just bringing caution to the wind. I'm imagining, but that's a great question. I'm not exactly sure, and the clandestine nature of business, you're probably not going to really know until he gets up and takes the mic and says what really went on.
Yeah, and I hope it's nothing serious. Hopefully he'll be able to get back, but they will have this long layoff before training camp. So I think if he's still not back by training camp, I think we can have a different conversation about that and be like, okay, what's going on here? But hopefully that long layoff, even if he doesn't practice today, moving out of mandatory minicamp, hopefully it's all good there. Now, you mentioned David Ojabo at the beginning of the show. Just to quickly wrap up with that, Q, you said he's looking good. Is there going to be any sort of restrictions on him? Because the ACL was partially torn. Is there any restriction for him as he kind of gets back or ramps up? Or do you think it's going to be full go once training camp hits here?
I hope it's not full go. I hope it's a situation where what I saw was a guy that was moving and moving well, but you're not, fully going up against another human. I would love to play caution to the wind, and then if he's full go, let the thoroughbred eat and go out and do what he does and hunt. That kind of seems like that's what they're doing. I'd be curious once training camp, comes about, how they want to attack. But I personally would be conservative with it, knowing that he's going to be really powerful in the long run. Eat him.
Yeah, there's just no reason to rush it. I mean, I don't know why you would. I think at this point in Baltimore, ever since the J.K. Dobbins injury, honestly, Q, they've played things a little more cautious here, which I think is the right decision. So at the end of the day, we're going to see how that works out. But he will be competing for snaps with your new best friend, Tavius Robinson, and we will see how that all plays out. So Charlie Kohler, Tavius Robinson, we'll add Devonta Freeman to the party. Why don't we? We'll do all the BFFs.
No. Active BFFs. Okay.
He could come out. I don't know if he officially retired. I think he actually did. He could maybe come out of retirement.
Right. And, see, you're gonna have to find a new one.
All right, that's my homework. Next week, I'll reveal my new BFF on Locked On Ravens. So there we go. Live on Thursday's show, we'll do it. So
it can't be Travis Jones. We'll have to split him.
Okay, all right. 50-50. Yep, 50-50 on Travis Jones. So we'll do that. BFF, do it on Thursday's episode of Locked On Ravens.
Maybe you can have Daniel Lele.
Yeah. Well, Yeah, who knows what happens with that offensive line, by the way. But yeah, craziness. Q, I appreciate you, though. Thanks so much for hopping on. Before we head out of here, tell people where they can find you, what you're working on as minicamp comes to a close here.
Yeah, man, it's all about missile training, missiletraining.com. Missiletraining.com is where you can find me. Missiletraining.com is where you can check out what is sports performance and human movement at the same time. I am on WJZ with my Purple pregame show during the season, Purple Playbook during the offseason. You can catch me over on that. And Kevin Ostreicher and I, we are hanging out on Locked On Ravens, living large, talking nothing but shop of football, Raven style.
That is right. You know the deal. Link in the description or below to all of Q's work. You can catch him on here every week on Locked On Ravens as well. Appreciate you as always, Q, and appreciate everybody for tuning into the show today. Be sure to subscribe, follow along video form and audio form. Coming up tomorrow, we'll round out the week with more Ravens content. Stay tuned. I'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On Ravens.